They don't promise to make the pain go away, but they do offer us a path to face it, embrace it, and grow through it. Whether you're struggling with coming out, facing discrimination in the workplace, processing the trauma of family rejection, or navigating the unique challenges of queer relationships in a heteronormative society, Stoic wisdom offers clarity and strength when we need it most. In a world that often tries to make our existence invisible, Stoicism cuts through the external noise and reconnects us with what really matters: our authenticity, our community, and our ability to flourish even in hostile environments. After all, as a community that has historically faced persecution and marginalization, we already intuitively know something the Stoics taught. True freedom begins within. In this video, we'll explore 3 transformative Stoic mantras that are especially powerful for LGBTQIA+ people facing adversity. Remember that you will die. Not as a morbid reminder, but as an urgent call to live authentically and without excuses. Love your destiny. Transform the challenges of being who you are into a source of strength and purpose. Focus only on what you can control. A powerful tool for navigating a world that tries to control our identities and expressions. Each of these principles carries centuries of wisdom, but their relevance to the LGBTQIA+ community in the contemporary world is staggering. Let's dive deep into these concepts and discover how they can guide us through life's inevitable storms, especially those faced by queer and trans people. The Stoics never promised an easy life, and as LGBTQIA+ people, we definitely weren't promised that either. But what Stoicism does offer us are tools for living well, thriving, and finding joy even in the midst of struggle. Tools that, interestingly, many of us have already developed instinctively through our journeys of self-discovery and resilience. Before we begin this philosophical journey through a queer lens, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on content that combines ancient philosophy with contemporary LGBTQIA+ experiences. Let's begin this exploration together. Remember that you will die. At first glance, this may seem like a somber reminder, especially for a community that has already faced too much pain and loss. But this concept is not about despair. It is about awakening to an authentic and full life. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, said, "You can leave this life at any time. Let it determine what you do, say, and think." For LGBTQIA+ people, these words resonate deeply. How often have we put off living our truths for fear of judgment? How many years have some of us spent in hiding, living lives that were not authentically ours? The AIDS epidemic of the 1980s and 1990s brought a brutal memento mori to our community. We saw friends, lovers, and icons depart prematurely. But out of that period of pain also emerged a powerful movement, a collective awakening that said, "We have no time to waste living in the shadows. Life is like an hourglass." Think about that for a moment. Each grain that falls represents a moment you have already lived, irrevocable, unchangeable. But the grains at the top? That is your future. The problem is that none of us know how many grains are left. This is not to scare us, but to focus us. When we face prejudice, daily microaggressions, or the exhaustion of constantly having to explain or defend our existence, it's easy to get lost in anxieties that don't serve us. Memento Mori asks us, do I want to spend these precious hours on anxieties that don't serve me? Or would I rather focus on what really matters, creating genuine connections, cultivating joy, and living my truth unapologetically? Regret has a way of creeping into our minds. Opportunities missed, words left unsaid, moments when we remained silent when we could have spoken up. But rather than letting regret paralyze us, Memento Mori offers us a reframe. Every moment is a new chance. Don't dwell on what you've lost, instead ask what you can do now. Memento Mori whispers, don't wait, don't waste, don't sleepwalk through your days. The clock is ticking, yes. But that's exactly what makes each moment so profoundly precious. Embrace it, live it fully. Let Memento Mori remind you that while death is inevitable, a meaningful life lived in its absolute truth is always possible. The ancient Romans had their own way of standing firm when a victorious general returned from battle. As crowds cheered and glory surrounded him, behind him stood a servant whispering Memento Mori, not to diminish his success, but to keep him humble, aware, and present. In modern terms, think about those moments when you compare yourself to others on social media, the carefully curated highlights, the relentless pursuit of likes and validation. It's exhausting, especially when heteronormative standards dominate these platforms. Memento Mori cuts through the noise and reconnects us with what really matters: meaningful relationships, personal growth, and the passions that ignite our spirits. We live in a world obsessed with speed and distraction. Social media demands our attention, algorithms feed our insecurities, and society pressures us to conform to standards that often don't fit us. But at the end of your life, will you remember the hours you spent scrolling through news feeds, the promotions you chased pretending to be someone you are not, or the authentic relationships and experiences that truly shaped you? Memento Mori asks you to reflect, if this were my last day, how would I live it? Not in a dramatic way like a bucket list, but in the small, meaningful moments. A heartfelt conversation with someone you love, a project you're passionate about, the decision to finally let go of something that no longer serves you. For many LGBTQIA+ people, this principle might mean finally finding the courage to come out, starting their gender transition, or simply spending less energy trying to fit into a world that wasn't designed for us. Memento Mori reminds us that life is happening now, not when the world finally accepts us, not when all the conditions are perfect, but now. This mantra is not a burden. It is a gift. It invites us to let go of fear, shame, and imposed expectations. It reminds us that our lives are ours to live in all our rainbow glory. Love your destiny. Always remember that life doesn't come with a blueprint. It doesn't ask your permission or follow your carefully laid plans. For LGBTQIA+ people, this truth resonates deeply. No one chooses to be born into a society that often doesn't understand or accept who we are. No one chooses the unique challenges we face. Your dream job slips through your fingers when your identity is discovered. The family relationships I've invested so much in are shaken when you finally share your truth. An unexpected wave of anti-LGBTQIA+ legislation emerges in your state. A diagnosis you never expected. These moments can feel like a betrayal, as if life itself has turned against you. This is where love comes in. Love your fate. Don't tolerate it. Don't accept it grudgingly. Love it. It is a call to embrace every twist, every difficulty, every detour as if you had chosen it. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most powerful modern interpreters of Stoicism, captured the essence of love perfectly. My formula for greatness in a human being is love that wishes for nothing different, neither forward nor backward, nor in all eternity. Not about pretending that hardships don't hurt, or that discrimination does not. It's about seeing these challenges as necessary steps on your journey, as raw material for your growth. As a community, our history is full of examples of love. We transform pain into art, prejudice into activism, exclusion into vibrant, supportive communities. Consider, for example, that you're facing homophobic comments at work, the kind that make your stomach churn and your fists clench. The old you might have ruminated, letting anger and frustration take over. But with love for you, you pause and say, "This is my moment." Maybe it's an opportunity to educate with compassion. Maybe it's a call to create an LGBTQIA+ support group in the workplace. The comments aren't against you. They're for you. A chance to create change. Missed opportunities, failed projects, and heartbreaks often feel like life's cruelest jokes. But love for you offers a different perspective. The rejection letter wasn't a door closing. It was a redirection to something more aligned with your purpose. The relationship that ended wasn't a mistake. It was a necessary chapter in your growth. Love for you teaches you to trust that even pain has meaning. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" The challenges we face as LGBTQIA+ people can feel like a devastating fire. But just like when a forest burns, it's not destruction for destruction's sake. It's creating space for new growth. The same goes for us. The setbacks, failures, and disappointments we face aren't there to break us, but to transform us. They're fuel that fuels our resilience, forcing us to grow stronger and create more supportive communities. The next time life doesn't go as planned, take a deep breath and say, "I love you," not sarcastically but sincerely. Then ask yourself two simple questions. What can I learn from this? And how can this make me a better person? Not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that even imperfect things have value. The beauty of this principle is that you can always start small. When your pronouns are ignored, when plans fall through, when someone is rude, choose to see the moment differently. Not as an inconvenience, but as an invitation to grow. Over time, this mindset becomes a habit, and life's challenges, big and small, will become less daunting. Love for yourself is freedom. It frees you from wanting a life that isn't yours, and empowers you to love the life you have, with all its flaws, twists, and surprises. Because when you stop resisting and start embracing, you discover that every moment, even the difficult ones, is exactly what you need to become the person you were meant to be. Authentic, resilient, and completely you. The dichotomy of control. Focus only on what you can control. Life often feels like a never-ending tug of war. On one side, there's what you'd like to see happen: unconditional acceptance, equal legislation, the perfect relationship, the recognition you feel you deserve. On the other side, there's reality, messy, unpredictable, and often indifferent to your plans. For LGBTQIA+ people, this struggle can be even more intense. We struggle against deep-rooted prejudices, discriminatory policies, and societal expectations that seem stacked against us. The constant struggle to control the uncontrollable leaves many of us exhausted and frustrated. The dichotomy of control, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, cuts through this chaos with a simple truth. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Epictetus, a slave-turned-Stoic philosopher, framed it perfectly. It is not events that disturb people. It is the judgments they make about them. In other words, peace comes from focusing only on what you can control: your actions, your thoughts and your attitudes, and letting go of the rest. Not about giving up or being passive, but about consciously choosing where to direct your energy. Worrying about what you can't control is like trying to stop the waves of the ocean with your hands. Impossible and exhausting. But when you focus on what you can control, you find strength and freedom in the midst of chaos. Think about the things that stress you out on a daily basis as an LGBTQIA+ person. Maybe it's the endless stream of news about anti-queer legislation, the parade of opinions, hateful comments, and misinformation on social media, a family member who refuses to use your correct pronouns. You can't control how politicians vote, how strangers react to your identity, or whether your family accepts who you are. But you can control how much weight you give to these things, how you respond to them, and where you invest your time and energy. A powerful example of the dichotomy of control comes from Admiral James Stockdale, who survived more than 7 years as a prisoner of war during the Vietnam War. In his darkest hour, Stockdale focused not on the cruelty of his captors, which he could not change, but on his own actions and mindset. "You must never confuse the faith that you will prevail in the end," Stockdale said, "with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality." For LGBTQIA+ people, who often face brutal realities, this wisdom is vital. The dichotomy of control reminds us to focus on the one thing no one can take away from us: our response. We live in an age of constant distraction. Social media algorithms thrive on making us care about things we can't control: the opinions of strangers, the search for validation through likes, and the endless comparison with others. Consumerism adds to the pressure, convincing us that happiness lies in things outside of ourselves. But the dichotomy of control pulls us back to what matters. Instead of worrying about society's approval, focus on living authentically. Instead of obsessing over policies you can't change on your own, Focus on community building and local activism where you can make a difference. Results are never guaranteed, but the effort is always within your reach. This mindset also applies to mental health, something particularly important for our community, which faces higher rates of anxiety and depression. Anxiety often stems from trying to control the uncontrollable, the future, other people's perceptions, or past mistakes. The dichotomy of control reminds us to ground ourselves in the present and let go of what's beyond our reach. Try this simple exercise. Grab a piece of paper and write down everything that's stressing you out, from daily microaggressions to major concerns about LGBTQIA+ rights. Now, review your list and ask, can I control this? If the answer is no, cross it off. Let it go. Stop wasting your precious energy on what you can't change. The items that remain, the things you can control, circle them. That's where your focus should be. If it's your mental health, commit to self-care practices. If it's community building, focus on how you can contribute. If it's a relationship, focus on how you communicate and set boundaries. The dichotomy of control isn't just about reducing stress. It's about reclaiming your power. By letting go of what you can't control, you create space for what really matters, the actions, choices, and attitudes that define your life as a proud and resilient LGBTQIA+ person. Life will always have its storms, especially for those of us who defy norms and expectations. But when you embrace the dichotomy of control, you learn to weather them with grace. You stop wasting energy on the waves you can't stop and start steering your own ship, one firm choice at a time. Difficult times are inevitable. That's one of the guarantees of life. And for LGBTQIA+ people, these challenges often come with additional layers of complexity. You'll face days when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when nothing seems to go as planned, and when the pain of rejection, discrimination, or uncertainty grips you tightly. But what is also guaranteed is your ability to choose how you approach these moments. Memento Mori reminds us that our time here is limited, but that's not meant to scare us. It's a wake-up call. When you realize that every moment matters, you start showing up differently. You embrace your community a little tighter. You stop procrastinating on expressing your true identity. You let go of the grudges and shame that weigh you down. Death is not the end of the story. It's the reason to live fully and authentically. Loving your destiny doesn't mean loving every moment, but it does mean trusting that each moment has its place in your journey. As a community that has transformed persecution into pride, marginalization into solidarity, we instinctively know the power of this perspective. The Stoics weren't superhuman. They had fears, doubts, and struggles, just like us. But they left us a blueprint for rising above the noise, for finding clarity in the chaos. Their mantras aren't relics of the past. They're vital tools for contemporary LGBTQIA+ life. Imagine living each day with these principles guiding you. When life tests you, and it will, you take a deep breath. You remember that this is temporary, this is for you, and you control how you respond. You can choose pride over shame, action over helplessness, love over fear. The world can be unpredictable and sometimes hostile to LGBTQIA+ people, but your inner world, that's entirely up to you. The next time you're facing a difficult time, take a deep breath and remember, Memento Mori, Amor Fati, the dichotomy of control. These aren't just words, they're your compass, your anchor, your light in the storm. Life will always be messy, but you, with these tools and the resilience our community has cultivated for generations, can navigate it with grace and courage. You are stronger than you think. You always have been. And with these Stoic mantras, interpreted through our unique LGBTQIA+ experiences, you always will be. If these ideas resonated with you, and you're ready to explore Stoicism through a queer lens even more deeply, be sure to check out our channel. We're creating content to help you live with more clarity, resilience, and purpose, all rooted in timeless Stoic wisdom and adapted for contemporary LGBTQIA+ realities. Sign up now and let's continue this journey together. Your best self, your most authentic self, is waiting.